April 9th, 2003. I'm uncomfortable with Cameron spending the night. Cameron is Howie's brother's son. Dear Howie, this is not a big deal, but I have been struggling with how to handle this for weeks. But now the time is upon us, and I think it better to tell you what is on my mind than to behave strangely for no apparent reason. I would be very uncomfortable staying overnight with you while Cameron is here. I think it sets a bad example for an impressionable child to be exposed to people living together. I understand that his and your religious upbringing might not find our situation particularly unacceptable, but mine does. I think it sets a poor example for reasons that are much more earthbound than that as well, because statistics show that people who live together before marriage are more likely to divorce later. I think that is largely because people who opt to do that are less committed to making something work and are perhaps more flippant in their attitude that if it doesn't work out, it's easier to get out of. I know that you have good reasons, based upon your experience, that people change after marriage, and that is why you want to be sure that under the test of constant companionship, you will find me to be no less than what you think I am. But Cameron is too young to understand and doesn't have the same set of experiences that you have had. I know he looks up to you, and at some later date might view our living arrangement as having been acceptable because of his respect for you, and then even further justified when it works out for us. This could cause him to make a big mistake in his later life if he were to choose a young woman who was willing to take a similarly cavalier attitude toward what should be a permanent relationship. If I were to flaunt our living arrangement before him, I would always be concerned that I was creating an obstacle for him. And if he did end up in a bad relationship, would blame myself for having done something that I knew better than to do. I am not sure how to handle the other kids in your life. It doesn't appear that they spend the night, and even though they may see and question a woman's clothes in the closet, it doesn't seem to me to have the same impact as waking up every morning and she's still there. When the time comes that we do share a roof, I can always go to the cabins at Easy Street for a week or so when your nephew is in town. This isn't easy for me to suggest now, and I suspect that in a week my resolve may have been deeply challenged by your absence. Might I suggest you take a handful of the active H so that we can stock up for the drought? I will welcome any opportunity in your schedule over the next week to steal a moment of pleasure with you. My period starts on the 16th, which makes for especially bad timing. The good news is that you will soon discover whether or not I just love you for your body. Bank of America approved me today for $200,000 at 5%, 0 points, 15 years on the island, plus an additional credit line of $68,000 at 0.25 over prime. I currently owe them $125,000 at 7.5%, 90 days to close. They are offering a 5.5 fixed, no points on my investment properties, so I need to sit down and take a look at the big picture to see how I can comfortably parlay it at this opportune time in history. I am looking forward to seeing you tonight. Love, Carole. And this is not in there, but I am one of those people who hates debt. I mean, really hates debt. So when I buy a property, I don't buy it unless I can pay cash for it. But I had so much equity in my home and in some of these properties because I own them free and clear. And in 2003, there were a lot of buying opportunities. And so I was like, man, should I go ahead and borrow some money and take advantage of being able to purchase some of these properties that are going at such great prices? And so I did some of that, but I just sweated it. I hated being in debt, and so as quickly as I could pay that loan off, I did. And I kept a credit line on my house in case there was some emergency where I needed to raise money for a particularly good deal. But for the most part, I almost never purchase anything unless I can pay cash for it, and I would absolutely recommend that to anybody out there who is thinking about becoming an investor.